Well, hello everyone and welcome to the Basics of Life. My name is Ken Burkey and we have someone in the house. This isn't your first time?
No, but it's been years.
This is Shannon Bezak, by the
Hi.
way. And Shannon is our director of our Hope House,
Right.
of the Hope House, which is a transition home for single moms.
Yep.
And so thank you for being here.
Well, thank you for having me.
And first of all, before I ask you some questions, just kind of explain what the Hope House is.
Okay, love to. Hope House is a transitional housing program for young, well, actually not just young women, but single women with young children. And it's transitional in the nature of most of our women are coming from other programs or other stuff in their life where they just need that extra boost to be able to get some independence and sustainability. Mm-hmm. And it's a 12 to 18 month program, and children's age from newborn to 12 years old. So currently we have 5 women in the house, just to give you an idea.
Yeah.
22 to 41, the ages of the women.
Wow.
Kids 0 to age 5 right now.
Wow. How many kids are in the house?
There's 6 kids in the house right now.
6 kids.
Yeah.
So 5 moms, that's the max. Like
Yes, that's
right?
as many rooms as we have. Correct.
Rooms. And so they live in a communal kind of...
Yep, they live communally, and we take them in as a group, and they go through their journey together for 12 to 18 months, and they're a happy family, a family.
Okay, so before I get to some personal questions
Right.
of why you do this, just a little more detail of what happens in those 12 to 18 months. I mean, what tools are given and,
Right.
and what are the challenges? And
Right. So I like to make sure people realize that Hope House is transition in that we are recreating normal.
Recreating normal.
Recreating normal. It's kind of our tagline that we use for all of our volunteers because it helps you with that perception that there's so much stuff that's been learned and behaviors that have been created over the years for these moms, dysfunction and brokenness, that we really kind of need to break things down and recreate healthy patterns. So with that comes counseling and therapy and life skills, basic life skills of budgeting and parenting and cooking and shopping and all of these basic things that, you know, we like to think that everyone gets in their family growing up, but unfortunately we have a whole host of community that doesn't get that. So they land with us. So they're getting tools for, I mean, seriously, how to, even what a budget is. We
Right.
start with, do you understand what a budget is? Do you even know what income is? Do you know what expenses are? It's basic stuff like that. And then it's parenting. But then so those are the kind of the basic life skills. And then there's that heart and soul work. That is the deeper stuff that we're dealing with also. And we do it in phases. And the first 6 to 8 months is really breaking down all those layers. And we're digging deep into trauma. Most of our moms have post-traumatic stress of some form or another. From domestic violence and sexual and physical abuse as a child and as an adult. Some of them have actually been the abusers themselves. And a lot of that is because they've just defended themselves.
Sure.
So, or that's what they've learned. That's how they've learned to be. So we're working on so many different areas with them in the first 6 to 8 months before we give them all these tools, kind of equip them in their toolbox, and then we'll start weaning them into society as far as going back to school or getting a job, looking for housing, and recreating normal. So they're able to be out in society and make better choices.
How, seems like a simple question, but how hard is this for these ladies?
It is really difficult.
Yeah.
They not only are coming in wanting to change their life, and most of their motivation is for their children, and it's so pure, their motivation is so pure, but they get in there and they realize I'm with 4 other women that are just as broken as I am, and I have to live with these women. I didn't choose these women to live with.
Right.
And even though they've signed up for us to be in their face, and we tell them, okay, when you're signing up, it's like a boot camp. You're signing up that we're going to be in your face, and we're going to be teaching you in love, but really saying some things to you that you're not going to want to hear, and you're going to be doing some things that don't feel comfortable. And then you're going to be living with these 5 other women. And we're going to all go home at the end of the day, but you guys are left to be there together. It is really difficult. So we're constantly having to just make sure that they have compassion and grace for each other, and they're able to look at someone and go, okay, they're in the exact same place that I'm in. But it's really hard. It's emotionally taxing on them. They want to throw in the towel almost
Yeah.
every other day,
Right.
you know, but they're
So-
doing it for their kids.
Right. So obviously, one of your jobs is to just tell them don't give up,
Right, exactly.
because there's not a lot of people out there telling them to not give up.
No, a lot of them have told them they can't do it.
Yeah.
They've been told they can't do things, or they have to be on assistance, or they
Yeah.
have to do this, or they have to do that.
How hard is it for them? I mean, do they have to draw some boundaries because of the old relationships?
Absolutely. We have what we call the safe list.
Mm-hmm.
And when they come in, we pretty much interview them as to who would be safe in your family or friends or network that you feel would be an encourager and a cheerleader to you while you're in this program. And that's who they put on that list. And those are the only people they can really see. And then we meet them and make sure that that's a safe place, because we have to help them make those boundaries. And sometimes they actually really like that, because they'll be able to say to Uncle Joe, I'm sorry, I can't see you. The program and won't allow that.
Right.
So that gives them some freedom, kind of like when your kids say, hey,
Yeah.
Mom,
Yeah.
tell me I have to come home.
Right.
Right.
Wow, so you are truly creating the new normal.
Absolutely.
Well, one more thing that intrigues me, that I think there's trying to figure out how to live with 4 other families has to have, in the long run, some huge benefits. To
It
just
does.
Talk about that.
What's really interesting, what we've seen, and I don't know what will happen with these 5. I have my predictions, but in the past, the ones that were really at each other's throats, or really just didn't get along and had major confrontation and conflict the whole time they were in the program, ended up being the best of friends afterwards, and the support to each other, because they made it through together.
Right.
And there's something to be said. It's almost like going to battle with somebody,
Right.
and you might not always see eye to eye, but in the end, you have this shared experience.
Yeah.
And so, and the just like with anything, there's cliques. So there's 2 that'll get along, and then there's the odd man out or whatever. But that changes, which is good. That means they're all kind of integrating. But sometimes we just have to say, go to your own corners,
Right.
too. And it's like, spend a couple days, by yourself.
So you're like raising children.
5 teenagers
But so-
with children. That's what it feels like.
Yeah, and it's kind of like siblings, You may fight the whole time you're living together, but then you
Right.
get older and there's that bond.
Absolutely.
that
It's a shared experience. It really is.
Again, I'm going to get to some personal questions, but just talk about some. I mean, obviously, this is not 100% proof,
Right.
Because it's still in their corner to make these
Absolutely.
decisions, and it's hard.
Yeah,
It's
it is
hard.
hard.
It's hard to make the changes. But why don't you celebrate a few stories of these changes that have
Absolutely. We it is really hard, and we've learned a lot over 10 years, and we've actually had to make a lot of adjustments with what we've learned. But we have one gal right now. It's so incredible that she came through the program, and she went through the entire program. She had come from a lifetime of abuse and poor choices, drug addiction. A lot of it had to do with the men she chose in her life to be in her life. Her oldest son is being raised by her parents, because she had to write off her rights to him because she just wasn't making the best choices. Then she had another son, and she came to us and just said, I'm done, I'm ready. And she was really ready. And not all of them are ready when they say they're ready, but she really was. And she has just done this amazing thing. She would always say to us, I don't necessarily agree with what you're telling me, but the choices I've made have not gotten me very far, so I feel like I need to start listening to somebody else. So she always did what we asked her to do, even though she didn't agree. And oh my gosh, it's just so amazing. She has actually come back this last Christmas, and she went out and bought presents for the new people that were in the house, because she knew. And then also, when all of our new moms moved in, this new group moved in, she came over and just gave them all a pep talk and told them, you can make it, it's going to be hard, but you can do this. She's got a full-time job, she's raising her son on her own. Unfortunately, she's had to draw a really strong boundary with the son's father, and we thought that would kind of go to the wayside, because we had helped her with that, but she's continued that for almost 2 years. So, and it's a
Wow.
beautiful thing.
Yeah.
And she's coming to church, and she's working full time, and it's just incredible. But she reaches out to us when she needs that help too.
Right. Because this is, once you graduate, there's still all those relationships that
Absolutely.
have been built, so you have a strong network.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Tell me another
Yeah.
one.
Tell you another one. Okay, there's so many. We have one that actually you might not, the outside world might not think this is a success, but we had a young mom. She was 22 years old. She had already had 6 children. And she came to us, and she had 3 children, And she had used Safe Families as an option to watch her kids while she was doing some things. And then she got in our program, so she got her kids back. But it became pretty evident there were some mental health issues and some other things there that she was really not capable of being a mom. And she was starting to realize that. And so she actually used us to get in a good place with her mental health, get the right evaluation she needed, everything that she needed on track to help her with the parenting and all of those things. And then she really had to make a hard choice. And the choice that she made was to allow her children to be adopted by the Safe Families that had taken them in.
Wow.
And it's a beautiful story, though, because this woman is still in our community. She's a huge volunteer at another program where she lives in, and she's helping other women now. In another program, she has a full-time job, and she has a relationship with her children still.
Wow.
To this day.
Wow.
So, and she's just a walking testimony, and she's like, sometimes this is the plan. And it's a beautiful story, and you wouldn't maybe think that was a success because she didn't end up with her children, but she ended up more whole than she would have been if she had to keep her children and struggle every day.
And her children are in a great place.
Oh, her children are in a great place, and they love their mom, but they are in an amazing 2-parent home. They have 3 other siblings now.
Wow.
And it's incredible.
Yeah, let's talk about the children for a second,
Yeah.
because we talked about this a while ago about these stories of these ladies are amazing stories, and they're dramatic, many of them, and then they're great stories of redemption. But we talk about creating non-stories,
Right.
where these young kids aren't going to have to live out these stories, because
Right.
you're breaking this, you're helping
Break
not
the
only the
cycle.
moms, but you're breaking the cycle. So talk about that for a moment.
So that's the reason I really got involved in Hope House, was the kids. I just was drawn to that. It was so fascinating to me that, oh my gosh, we have an opportunity here to break that cycle. And these kids might never know what it's like to be on government assistance, know what it's like to have to live in a shelter, because they're not gonna remember this. It's gonna be a faint memory. And we're hoping that they're just gonna feel like they lived in a group home for a little while with extended family. And then they're gonna move on, and it's just gonna be this little memory, but it's gonna have these healthy things included in that. And so that's really what drew me to it. So we do have non-stories. We have, actually, there's 2 young children now. I can't believe how old they are now. They're in junior high that came through our program years ago. And they're on the honor roll.
Wow.
And they're serving in their community with their mom, because their mom and dad, she ended up getting married after she left the program, and so now they have a dad. And the mom and dad are out there, and they're raising awareness for foster services, because they had to use the foster care system for a while when they were not making good choices. And then they brought it back together. And these kids, they remember me, but it's not like, oh, we lived in this horrid place. It's more like, oh yeah, I remember you were involved in my life somehow. But that's a non-story. They don't even remember, but
Right.
they're incredible.
Because
Yeah.
they have a new normal.
Yeah.
They don't even know where they
Nope.
could have. Because we
Absolutely.
know the cycle is vicious if it just
All
continues.
of these women, every single one of them, 100%, because we've done the statistics, that have come through the program, have come from dysfunction. And this is not their first time being on assistance or in domestic violence. It was usually their parents, their grandparents, aunts, uncles, drug addiction, all of that. So if we can stop it with the kids,
Right.
that is
Changes
yeah.
everything. So 10 years ago, more than 10 years ago, we had this crazy idea of this home, had no idea what to do with it, except
Right.
we knew that single moms shouldn't be homeless.
Right.
And that they needed help. There was that population, and there still isn't very many Hope Houses out
Not
there.
enough, right?
But your journey in those last 10 years and where you have taken Hope House it's phenomenal. I mean, it's such an amazing program. And you have done such an amazing job, but it hasn't been easy.
No.
I mean, it's been a lot because your heart is there.
Right.
You really do care. Yeah. So why do you care, and why? I mean, you're not getting rich doing this,
No.
or are you?
No, I'm not.
Why? Why, Shannon?
Oh gosh, I think it's changed over the years. My why, I kind of just told you that my why I got into it was the kids, and then I got to know these moms who are essentially children.
Yeah.
My why is because I get to see brokenness every day, but then they're striving. These women, they want to do the right things, and they want to make a difference for themselves and their families, and they have really not had a lot of cheerleaders in their life. I do have the gift of encouragement, so I think that keeps me going. But on the days when I really feel like I want to throw in the towel, it's those, oh my gosh, if I throw in the towel, that means I'm giving up on them too, and I don't want to give up on them. And so my why actually has changed, because it's not just for the kids and breaking that cycle. It is really, I want to create this whole new community of people that have recreated their lives so that they can go out and do this as well. And so if all 5 of them go out and just touch one other life, and then it's just going to continue from there.
Yeah.
And that's really why I do it. It's in every, and I know that this is one of those sayings that in a struggle there's an opportunity. When there's a problem, you need to look at it as an opportunity.
Sure.
Not everybody's good at that, but that's my constant tagline over there. I'm like, oh, someone will be having a really rough time and they want to pack their bags, so they want to do this or that, and I'll say, this sounds like a really great opportunity for you to make some, and they're fighters. That's the thing, is they're fighters. And I like to be with fighters. They're strong and tough and frustrating women, but they're amazing. And so that my why now is not just the children, but it's to really see change life. And it's not going to be perfect. They're not going to, they're not going to all be perfect. We've had a lot of bumps and bruises over the last 10 years. We've had to take a step back, and we've had to take a deep breath, and we've had to completely recreate our program just in the last year, because we felt like we weren't doing everything that we needed to do in the proper way. So we took a step back and went out and got some more training and attacked it in a different way. So it's actually, we've made it a little harder on ourselves because the structure's more intense, but we've already seen the success expand. It's amazing. So
I think too, like you said, these women are fighters. Don't judge someone until you see how far they've come. And so people may judge and say, well, they got a long ways to go, but you can say, well, they've come further than most people. Because we take for granted some of the tools we got growing up. And so amazing.
Absolutely, it is. And I so want to, every time somebody meets one of them, and if something, they're judged on how they behave or something they do, I want to be in the background going, but this is what they've already done. They've already done, you have no idea what they've already accomplished and come through. They're uncovering so much about themselves right now in the therapy that they're in. They're so raw, and they're really realizing things about themselves that I think people have told them that, hey, you're this way, but they really didn't realize it until they're uncovering it now. And now with information, you can do anything with information. You're like, oh, if I have this information, now I can actually make the changes I need to make.
And with the support system and accountability and all of that.
It's a huge support system. They have people in their face constantly. So.
Awesome. Well, we need to revisit this. So
absolutely.
Thank you. You did a great job. Thank you for what you do. And thanks for the teams. And just
thank you for your initial vision, too.
Well, it was a big vision, and it was messy, but you've made it actually happen. So.
It's still messy, but
it's still messy.
It still feels fresh. I can't believe it's been 10 years.
I know. It's an amazing program, and thanks for your commitment. And one last thing. Just people watching, what can people do to help Hope House? Is that too big of a question?
Pray. If you feel like you can mentor, of course, financial support is always wonderful. But if you feel like you can mentor, you have something to give. If you want to drive, if you want to, hold babies or whatever, contact the church.
So can they contact you?
Yep.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Shannon Bezak and.
And my email address is s.bezak@greenvalley.church.
Okay. So if you have any passion or connection and wanting to get involved with Hope House, it's amazing.
Absolutely.
So, all right.
It'll change your life.
Yes, it will. Thank you, Shannon.
You're welcome.
Thanks for being with us here on the Basics of Life, and hope to see you next time.